name 3 Americans that you look up to and they really inspire you a lot.
This is a bit controversial, but I look up to Kany West, by the way.
Kany West?
Yeah.
Why?
He's one of the most impactful people on the planet. Like at the moment.
True. Yeah, that's true.
So everything he touches, it creates history, you know. He's a genius, you know. Okay, lately there's some controversies about him.
For me, I would say someone that I've really learned a lot over the years is Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan is really one of the most impactful person in my life, mainly because of his podcast, you know, the Joe Rogan Experience. So ever since I started listening to him, the first time I heard of his podcast, I think should have been in 2020. Remember back then we didn't have internet, so probably around 2020 when I joined university, and he had a guest. This guest, his name is Naval something. So he is an Indian person. He is an Indian American. Then this guy was speaking mainly about. Welcome back to Oseko Twins YouTube channel, and guys, we are glad to have you here on our channel today. So, you know, growing up in the village, there were not really many people to look up to. You know, people like having a mentor or something. So for us, we always knew
there were people to be looked up to, but we didn't know them.
Yeah, we didn't see them, but we always knew that there could be someone in the world that we could look up to, but these people were not in our village. And the bad thing is that we didn't have internet in the village, so it was really difficult
for us.
But until we got to like 17 is when we access internet like the first time. So we had to look to places like Europe and America to find these mentors whom, you know, people who had achieved the dreams that we wanted in life. So guys, in this episode we're going to be discussing that the people who have really mentored our lives, especially people from America, because America is the land of opportunities. So those are the places that we look up to. So who are these people that you see and you're like, this is the person?
But like, even of course, there are people whom, when I got access to internet, there are people who I look up to. But even before you go to America, how comes you don't look up to your mom? The fact that she didn't have a lot of money, but
she
has raised you to this level. What else do you need? What other motivation do you need apart from that? So I think she's one of the people that I used to look up to. I think the fact that she was left by herself with like more than 7 kids to raise by herself, without like a job, you know, she got to do that, and none of her kids went into drugs or so many bad things, you know. All her kids are up right now. She's someone that I can say I also look up to. But now, apart from her, Americans.
Before we go to the Americans, what's the greatest lesson that you learned from our mom?
Like, prayers work. Like, honestly, guys, there's a time we used to be in the village, so we were really young, by the way. So this time, I was, you know, for me, I sleep and then I sleep. I like dead asleep. I sleep loudly. But then that day, I don't know how I woke up, and then I found like it was like around 3 a.m. I don't know, 3 or 2 a.m. She was praying. She was praying, like literally praying, like, oh, help my kids, my family, like. And then I woke up in the morning. I told her, I heard you were praying last night, really early in the morning. Then she told me she does that every day, and true to her words, I also like now I kept like keeping in touch, and I realized that like she was praying like every day early in the morning, like 2 to 3 a.m. So like I think that's a lesson I learned, that prayers do work, because like at least none of our kids really went astray. You know, sometimes life happens. It's possible that most of us could have gone like to some different paths, but at least none of us we don't have like we are not really the most successful people like money wise or things, but at least all her kids had like it's she can call any of her kids, have a conversation, you know. None of the kids is like out there astray.
Yeah, all of us are sober and hardworking.
Yeah, and hardworking. Yeah, that's one thing I can say I learned from her, that prayers do work. Also, I think for her, she's a very hardworking person. Hard work pays, because like she didn't have any support, but then again she managed to pay fees for her kids, which is really great.
Yeah, so I think that's all we can speak about our mom. She's really one of the most hardworking people in the world. People who watch our videos, some of them say that your mom works too much. But guys, for a person like her, if you knew the situation that she was in, like 14, when was this? 2011?
Yeah, 2009
9 to
2008 to 2011, and then it extended to
about
2015, 2016, 17, 18.
So if you knew her situation back then, you then can understand why she works so hard, because we have to eat. But nowadays, even though we are not young kids anymore, she still feels like she needs to work hard.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think those are great lessons that we learned from our mom. Now, leaving our mom aside, let's go to the name three Americans that you look up to and they really inspire you a lot.
This is a bit controversial, but I look up to Kany West, by the way.
Kany West?
Yeah.
Why?
He's one of the most impactful people on the planet. Like at
that's
the moment.
True. Yeah, that's true.
So everything he touches, it creates history, you know. He's a genius, you know. Okay, lately there's some controversies about him, but like music wise, fashion wise, what else? Business wise is one of the best people to ever come on this out of the black entertainment industry. I don't know what's going on as of today, but like
you can't take away from what he has done.
Yeah, like okay, his personality apart, but like music wise, I know like most of his songs, I do follow them, but I don't know what happened really.
Yeah.
But like he's a person that I really love.
Yeah.
In terms of his career wise. Yeah, but like I saw another. They started doing an interview with this gentleman. What's the name of this gentleman?
From the UK.
Yeah, and then Rogan. He introduced himself, and then they started with an argument, and then he ended the.
I think that's a typical Kany West. So I think Kany West nowadays he calls himself.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Kany West is really an impactful person, like you said. For me, I would say someone that I've really learned a lot over the years is Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan is really one of the most impactful person in my life, mainly because of his podcast, you know, the Joe Rogan Experience. So ever since I started listening to him, the first time I heard of his podcast, I think should have been in 2020. Remember back then we didn't have internet, so probably around 2020 when I joined university, and he had a guest. This guest, his name is Naval something. So he's an Indian person. He is an Indian American. Then this guy was speaking mainly about, you know, young men, how young men in today's world they are neglected mostly. And you know that I resonated with that message so much, and then I started listening to him a lot. So one thing I really love about his podcast is the way he interviews people. You know, for him, he will bring any guest and he really tries to understand the guest. He doesn't, you know, there are some podcasts, because nowadays we listen to a lot of podcasts. You can feel like the interviewer is trying to overshine the guest, but for Joe Rogan, he tries to be very humble and tries to give the guest his time so that this person can, talk his point or argue his case. So I think Joe Rogan, also the advice from him about working hard and everything, one of the biggest people that I really get inspiration from. Also, I think one of the biggest guests I've had from his podcast, I think, is Mr. Jordan Peterson. This gentleman from.
I also knew
Peterson from
him.
Joe Rogan. I used to think Peterson is actually American until later is when I came to understand that he's Canadian. Back then we couldn't really differentiate the accents of the Canadians and the Americans. So I used to think this gentleman was American. So yeah, I think Peterson is one of the biggest guests that was on that I've listened at Joe Rogan's podcast.
Yeah. So another person that I really like look up to is Barack Obama. When you listen to Barack Obama, also I don't know if I'm biased, it's because his father was born in Kenya.
Yeah.
So he has like Kenyan roots.
Yeah.
He's basically half Kenyan, half American to say.
And we come from the same province, his father. Yeah. So Barack Obama and we should be distant cousins guys from here in Kenya.
Yeah, so when you listen to his story, his father, his father used to be like a you need to read about his father.
The father.
Yeah. So his father went to America and then he was highly educated,
The father.
He's from Lowland.
Yes.
So when his father went to America and then he came back to Kenya, he was working under government. I think he was working under President Moi.
Wow.
But then now the problem he had is that he was educated now. He was like, I can't work under anyone who is not as educated as I am.
Okay.
I don't know if it's true, but that's the story that I hear. And then now, like, I think it's something like pride. The laws. There's something like
people from Barack Obama's tribe here in Kenya. They have some personality with pride. Them.
So he was like, I can't work with you can't be my boss if I'm more educated than you. So later on, he couldn't work for any person. I don't know if he was fought by the government. I don't know what happened, and then he couldn't work in any position in the government, and he was a high profile.
And all of this is allegedly, or are you sure?
I mean, you can read, guys. You can read on the internet. Then now, that's how I don't know if he became I don't know if it's an alcoholic. There's so many stories behind that. But that's aside. That's aside. Now, when you listen to Obama's story, he was left with his mother at a very young age. A single mother to raise him to become an adult, a sober man. And he went ahead to do the most unthinkable, the first person of color to become a president of America, That's the American dream.
Yeah.
That's the best definition of the American dream, I guess. So the fact that he came from, and they didn't have the most money. He came from basically from these low families, and then from these low backgrounds, he didn't have the biggest names behind him, and then through his words he was able to convince the entire American population to give him a chance to rule them. That's a really, really big thing for me. So I think that's one of the people that really I look up to, and I think anything is possible, as long as you can be able to convince people, tell them your story. I think people gave him because they can also resonate with him, Most of the people in America are people who came to America. They are not most of the people, they are first generations, maybe second generations, right? So they resonate with him because when he tells them that I was also born out, my parents,
my family
migrated to here. Most of the Americans also resonate with him. So the fact that he was able to convince them, and he turns out to be one of the best people. Even even when you listen to him speaking, he really he talks sense. He really is a sober man,
very articulate.
Yeah, he's very articulate. So I think he's a person that I really look up to. I don't know what you think about him.
I
There could be
remember-
like different opinions
Yeah.
of his like
Political
leadership,
views and everything.
political views, but we can all agree that he did something that is really unthinkable.
Yeah. So I remember back in 2015 when Barack Obama came back to Kenya as a president. I mean, he had come back to Kenya earlier when he was a senator. Then when now he came back as a president, it was really a big deal, guys, here in Kenya. I remember we were in primary school. That's the time he came to Kenya. It was like
Yeah.
there was a lot of conspiracy theories, but generally it was such a big deal over here.
Yeah.
So yeah, Barack Obama is really a big inspiration for people whom their parents have maybe migrated from third world countries and they've gone to the US, and now they're chasing the American dream.
Also, like the people who come from low income families.
Yeah,
I think he represents them.
people like us, basically. So I think also that's very true. I think also Jordan Peterson, and I know we've talked about him being Canadian, not American, but I think he is one of the people that I listen to a lot. I think I've listened to almost all of his podcasts that he's done, mainly on Joe Rogan's podcast, also on, I think, The Diary of a CEO. I've also listened him at Chris Williamson, many podcasts, also the Avon. Yeah, he's one of the people who have really championed the boy child. Yeah, so he's one of the people that we really look up to. We really listen to him a lot. His books, like now he has a new book which is called We Who Wrestle with God. One of the new books. I think it was released beginning of this year, if I'm not wrong. There are many lessons that you can learn from that book. But yeah, it's one of the inspirations that we have over here. Yeah, and I think also, I think when it comes to business-wise, we can't go without saying people like Elon Musk. They really inspire us. I know things that he does, maybe some things he does are maybe things that a normal person may not be able to do. But basically, it shows you that you can come. Like for him, he came from South Africa at a young age, and he went to Canada, later to America, and he has been able to achieve all the big things that he has achieved. So yeah,
those are some of the people that we really look up to.
Yeah,
and you know, guys, sometimes I might not agree with this person's maybe characters,
maybe
or like
political
opinions, but like the deeds that they've done, some of the things that they've done, you can't assume them, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes you might not agree
now
with
that I've touched Coke, I remember Warren Buffett.
Yeah.
Warren Buffett.
People. But like, for him, he's not someone that I've grown looking up to really. I could sit here and lie, you know, because the time he was really influential, we were really young. Maybe we weren't even born. So like I wouldn't really necessarily say him. But I know him. He really is a big business person. Or maybe he's someone who inspires you.
I can't say he inspires me, but I think
you can appreciate.
Yeah, I can't say inspires me, but there are lessons, things like compounding interest. Because even for us, we went to the bank last year and deposited money into a money market account. Those are things that people we saw people like Warren Buffett do. So there are lessons that you can get from people like him. So once we get to this, guys, we're speaking like we're gonna be coming to the States, but if we come to the States, I think one of the people that I really will want to meet is Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan is definitely, and you know, he speaks with a lot of emotions when he talks, and some people might not agree with his policies, but I think he's someone that is really articulate, and he's really passionate about what he's talking about, you know, mental health, those kind of things. He's really passionate about those kind of things, and those are the things that, especially, doesn't really necessarily mean like it's boys will follow. He's just championing about the boys, but the young people in general. It's really because like mental health is something that the young people are really facing a lot.
I think also because it changed how people view news.
Yeah.
Because in the past, people like politicians, they are used to going to these news channels. The the more, how do you call it,
Old-fashioned.
the old-fashioned ways of getting news. So like a politician will go to a news channel, and they will even
Play an
dictate
agenda.
play an agenda, or even dictate how many questions he'll be asked, how the questions should be framed. But now once you go to a podcast like Joe Rogan's, once you are seated with a person for 3 hours, you can't fake it.
Yeah.
So I think it really changed how people view people like politicians, business people, and everything.
Yeah.
So who is calling?
My sister.
So just for a minute, we have to finish this. So guys, I think those are among the people that have really inspired us, and they are among, Joe Rogan is one of the people that we'll have to meet once we get to the States. Any other person? I think let's now leave those. Let's now come to the new content creators.
New creators. New people, the youngest ones.
The youngest content creators, streamers.
I'd say Kaisenat. I really like Kaisenat has really like changed streaming and everything, and content creation, and the fact that bringing people like, okay, there's podcasts. A podcast is also good, but like now when people are live, even the fans are asking questions, live streaming, he has really changed a lot, because like a podcast, they're so nice, but it's just limited to what I want to ask you. But now a live stream, anyone can ask questions. So I think Kaisenat has really
also more changed. Interactive.
It's more interactive with the fans. I think Kaisenat has really changed that. And the fact that he is so young as well,
I think he is our age.
He could be younger.
No, I think he's our age. He should be 21, 22.
He should be 21, 22. Yeah, I feel like he's doing an amazing job when it comes to new era, new internet.
I think Kaisenat mostly represents the American culture.
Yeah.
Now there's someone like Speed, who has taken it to a global level.
You know what? The difference between Aisha Speed and Kaisenat. Aisha Speed is more about, what am I doing? Like me doing his comedy, like all those things. But Kaisenat, he brings people on board. I think that's the difference.
I think that's true. I think it's very hard to copy what Speed does.
Yeah.
But maybe someone like Kaisenat, you can copy.
Yeah, Aisha Speed is more of his
personality.
His personality is representing his personality.
Not very many people can do what he does. But he's really changed the game, because he goes. Imagine going to places like Japan and getting such kind of recognition.
China, it's crazy.
He was in China and getting such kind of recognition. Do you know there are big rappers who can't be recognized in China?
True.
Big footballers.
He went to South America.
Thailand.
Bangladesh.
That
gentleman is crazy.
But also these streamers, they don't really want to come to Africa.
No, they're claiming it's because of internet.
But nowadays we have Starlink. Although there are some countries that don't have Starlink.
Yeah,
do you know South Africa doesn't have Starlink?
Yeah. And he wanted, when it comes to Africa, he covers most of the African countries at once.
Also, there is sometimes there could be insecurities, because in some countries, like the other day we wanted to visit what's the name of this country? DRC Congo, and that's the time there was a lot of fights over there.
Yeah.
So sometimes there could be wars, and also some people, I think they have a different image of Africa.
Yeah.
Still, people think there are lions everywhere. But yeah, guys, those are among the people that have really influenced us. People like Adin Ross also, they have been really influential.
Yeah, actually, speaking of the lions, I was streaming on TikTok and someone asked me if I have a lion. I'm like, you're crazy.
That's being yeah.
So, who else among the younger
influencers?
Mm.
And there are many. It's just that sometimes the
The
names
names are
don't
not-
come off.
Yeah,
our
I'd also
heads.
like to meet Kwan. Kwan is
Kwan, yeah,
he's
Kwan
a
is-
young is my like my our age mate,
Mm.
and in terms of fashion we really like copy him a lot as well. So like Kwan,
Yeah.
the people Cozy Kwan, the people who watch. He's a young boy. He's from Atlanta, Georgia.
I think there is one person that we are missing to mention. The granddaughter of Donald Trump. So guys,
What's her name?
Kai Trump.
Kai Trump.
So guys, Kai Trump, he started YouTube like
She started her YouTube
she
like-
started YouTube like
4-5 months.
4-5 months ago. I think the
No, it was. Oh, it's been.
It
been
was last
almost
year.
7 months, maybe 8 months ago.
yeah.
Maybe 9 months.
But
moving.
the thing I remember is that when she posted her first video, I saw this video. Then I showed you that video.
Yeah.
Then after that video, she I think she became more consistent. And then for her, she already have a name, so she really grew exponentially. So she's one of the people that we will really want to meet. So Kite, if you are a girl, if you are someone who is close to her, once we come to the States, we really want to meet her as well.
Yeah.
But she does an amazing job on YouTube together with her friend.
Yeah.
Yes.
She doesn't upload videos daily, but like she's doing her thing.
Yeah. So I think that she's one of the people that we want to meet.
Also, Deep Dennis.
Deep Dennis, MP House.
Yeah, MP House. But the MP House, everyone. Like I think like most of those people in the MP House, they're really cool.
Really cool.
Who else?
I think apart from the Americans, the people in Britain, people like what's the name of this guy with a big forehead?
This gentleman that was
the guy who owns this drink with Logan Paul.
Yeah, he's called
KSI.
KSI. But like not KSI is really
before people like Speed came out, he was the biggest black influencer in the world.
But KSI is so funny.
He is so
Have
funny.
you seen his reaction?
I know his reactions. Even like today, he's still very influential.
Yeah,
He's still very influential.
Yeah.
Just that there's sometimes where someone comes up and they
And
really
they-
goes
yeah.
big.
Also,
But-
there's this gentleman who was the one that he was in I think he was in the US military, but when he applied to be a military they told him was too big, and then they told him to cut I don't know how many kgs, and then he went. You seen him? He was recently training this boxer, this UFC boxer. How
Do you mean David Goggins?
Yeah.
Goggins.
Wow, that gentleman.
Goggins, I don't think he even meets people as much. But yeah, he's very big. He's a big
I just respect his
work
craft.
ethic. But the things he does,
I definitely go and do it, but
you can respect what he does. So guys, those are among the people that we really look up to.
Yeah, you also tell us who are these people.
They could be business people, they could be athletes, they could be, because like for us also when it comes to football, when we talk about football, we mean the European football, soccer. So there are many people that we will want to meet. Like for me, if you ask me the number one person I may want to meet, there are two. It's Neymar and Paul Pogba.
Not
Those
Ryan.
two. Not
Ryan?
Who?
Yamal.
Oh, Yamal.
Yeah, they should call him
Yamal.
Ryan.
Does he speak English? He
Of
speaks
course.
English.
I usually see him posting English music on his.
But
right
you know,
now
there
everyone
is a
knows.
personality that Pogba has also.
Yeah, Pogba.
That I will really want to come across. So, but Yamal is another cool person.
But I'd like to meet. I think Kylian Mbappe. He sounds like a cool guy, by the way. Sometimes in the life,
It's good to be competitive. What about Rudiger?
Rudiger.
Rudiger is
also like someone that sounds to be really, really cool.
Yeah, Rudiger is really cool. I was really sad when he had to leave Chelsea.
Yeah.
So
I'd like to meet Hakim Ziyech.
Ziyech, yeah.
Ziyech seems like he's this.
Yeah, there are really many footballers. Also, Dybala. For me, Dybala is one of those people that I really loved back when he was in Juventus in 2017, 2016, 2017. Yeah, he was such a nice footballer. The skills were amazing.
Yeah, so guys, you tell us who are these people you'd like to meet.
Yeah, for us, we are not really big on basketball. We are also not big on American football,
American sports.
Yeah, we can't really pick from American footballers, but yeah, we know people like LeBron, the big names, but the other ones, because we don't follow them as much, we don't follow the sports as much. Yeah.
Yeah,
so guys, I think if you've watched until this point, also tell us who do you follow, who inspires you.
Yeah, also make sure you subscribe, you like, you share the live. Yeah, and
it's not a live, it's a video.
You know, I've been streaming on TikTok and I ended it, so like my mind has not adjusted yet. So yeah guys, I think we'll talk again another particular time.
Yeah, bye guys.